I tried customizing a figure from the thrift store into one of my OCs. There were plenty of challenges, but in the end, it was so much more than worth it. Okay, so now I'm back home and I'm gonna be opening up what I got and also like showing you everything else that is inside of the bag. So I got this for $5, which is a little bit expensive, but it did come with more than one thing, and I really felt like I could customize her into my character, and there might be other stuff in here that I could also customize, so I felt like it was worth it, and I just really wanted to start on this soon, and I didn't want to look around forever for something that I could customize, so yeah. Let's just open it up. So this is a character that I got. I believe her name is Hinata from Naruto. I think she looks very cute. I actually really like her. But I think she would make a really good character of mine if I can just customize her a bit. So I'm gonna try to do that. But as for the other stuff that I got, let's see. I feel like this one might have something. And then I don't see how I could customize these. But I have 3 of the same thing. So yeah. Let's just see what is inside of these 2 boxes.
First one. Okay, fry cooker. Okay, I don't think I can do anything with this. Oh, it does something.
Oh, okay.
And as for the second one, my sister actually never managed to get this one. She really wants it, so I guess if it's in here, I'll give it to her. But otherwise, I could potentially customize one of these if it's looking like one of my characters, so yeah, let's see what it is.
Okay. This one. I mean, I do have a character with gray hair. Not exactly with this haircut, but I'll see if I decide to do anything with him. Right here, I'm going to try to add a little bit of hair since it's currently much too short and I need it to be about shoulder length. So first I was thinking maybe I could use polymer clay. It might be kind of annoying to work with because I can't bake the figure with the clay on, so I would have to take it off and glue it back on later, but I feel like it might be worth it and it's really all I have to use. So I was planning to kind of add the clay around this line right here, and I first showed the blue clay, but I ended up using this orange clay. Since I was going to paint it anyway, it didn't really matter, and I just wanted to use something that I probably wouldn't end up using for anything else since I'm not keeping the original color of the clay. Anyways, after a while of working it, I finally felt like I'd be able to shape it a little bit, and maybe I can make it look like her hair now. So I'll be completely honest with you, at this point I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. I did not know how to stick it onto her head, so I just kind of pushed it down until it looked okay and just kept doing that. It was very difficult because I've never done something like this before with clay, and like I said, I just had no clue what I was doing at all. But after a while, it did start turning into something that actually looked okay, so let me just cut to the footage of when I finally got it to something that I liked. Okay, so here is the result. I honestly think it looks pretty good, except I would need to work it some more, especially in the back. But the thing is, I feel like there's no way I can take this off without it completely ruining the shape. I'll try, but I feel like I'm gonna have to do something else to make this work. I tried to move my fingers along really carefully, but after a little while it started tearing and I was very scared because I did not know how to keep it intact and it just was not working at all. So I came up with an idea for how to keep the hair in like a round shape while it's baking, and so let me show you. So I want to try using this parchment paper and I'm going to put it up into a ball like this, and hopefully it's about the same size as her head. I think it's pretty close. It's not perfect because it's so crumbly, but I think it will work if I just make sure to press it down. Okay, that did not work. It does not keep its shape at all when I try to take it off. I really don't know what to do. There's gotta be some way to keep its shape and bake it, right? I was worried at this point that I might have to give up, but then I came up with an idea. So the first thing is that I think tinfoil will keep its shape better while baking and will be able to help the clay still stay kind of like rounder when it's baking and not just go flat. And I decided to make the clay around the girl's head a little bit different. So I'm gonna make it much smaller and in this tiny strip instead of kind of like smushing it all around her head. So hopefully if it bakes a little bit too big, I can still make it work and put it somewhere else on her head and it will still look like the cute hair that I need. I'm just gonna have to glue it to make it actually stick because there's really no other way I can think of to make it completely work. But I think this will be good. Hopefully this works. So I baked it and it looks like it works. You can see it does fit. So now I just need to attach it with some glue. Hopefully that won't be too hard and her hair will be complete, except of course later I'll have to paint it. So let's go on to the next step now. So it is the next day and ta-da! It stayed stuck on really well. Look, the glue actually worked. I'm so happy about that. I don't like this part in the back of the hair very much, but I'll be covering it up because Aimi has a really big ribbon, so hopefully it will look just fine. So now let's go on to the next step and paint her hair the right color. I was a bit nervous of the paint wouldn't stay on the plastic well, but luckily it worked really good. It was a slow process painting her hair, but I did have fun with it, and I really liked the way that the color turned out. I was doing this part at night, so if it looks really shadowed, that's why. So I tried to add some blue right here to cover up this little mark, but it ended up dripping, and so the blue paint got onto her face, and then when I was trying to clean it off, this area of her hair snapped off and I had to re-glue it, and now for some reason the blue paint has seeped all around, like, I don't know, can you see it? So I'm gonna have to try to fix that. I really don't want to have to actually paint a skin tone all over her face because I feel like that'd be really annoying and it will possibly look kind of lumpy, so hopefully I don't have to do that. I decided to paint her outfit with random colors because I usually always draw Aimi in different outfits. There's no set outfit that she has to have, so I just kind of did whatever I felt like doing. And after one coat of paint, this is how everything was looking. I liked it, but it's obviously a little messy, so I need to do a little more. The main issue right now was her feet, which no matter how much paint I added, you could still see the toes because her shoes were originally sandals. I decided to try and sand it down, which did work, but I'm not sure if I would recommend because it was kind of like really gritty and ended up not looking that good, and I had to add so much paint to fix it. Plus, I'm not really sure you're supposed to sand plastic. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'd recommend it, but it ended up working for me. So now that the shoes had a new coat of paint, although it is kind of messy, I decided to try to repaint that area that before I had messed up on and got the blue all over the figure. This time it went much better because I was very careful and I made sure to not just let it go everywhere. I'm kind of wondering if the real issue the last time was, once I had messed up, I tried to run it over water and maybe the water somehow made it get all over the figure. I'm not fully sure, but I feel like that might have been it. Regardless though, it went pretty well this time. And now that the paint is all dry, you can kind of see the toes under the shoes, but I just added more paint later and that fixed the issue. As for the shorts, they were a little messy, but I kind of liked it. It looked more realistic. I ended up mostly keeping this idea for the final look. And so here, the hands are really messy as well as the legs, but for the most part, I liked how this looked and I was ready to move on to the next step. That step being the one I was most excited for, painting her eyes. She has yellow eyes, so first I tried to use this acrylic paint pen to do the first part, and sadly it got out of focus. But I had to do it in layers and wait for each part to dry to make sure I got her eyes very smooth and good looking. I kind of want to take this as a chance to talk more about my character Aimi in case you don't know much about her. So she's a young girl, she's just going into high school, she's kind of shy and quiet, reserved, keeps to herself, doesn't think she's much good at anything. But luckily for her, she has a best friend named Mira who loves her very much and makes her feel special. Mira actually has the power to grant wishes, but she tries to not overuse it. However, one day, by a twist, Mira ends up somehow disappearing and Aimi Aimi is left all alone. I actually originally wrote Aimi's story with Mira as the main character, and it was just a short story, but I ended up loving Aimi so much that I decided to make a long story with her as a star. It's like 60 pages long, so I'm pretty sure it's my longest fully finished story, and I am literally just so biased to Aimi. I don't know why, but I just love her so much. It might be because her accent elements are like birds and stars, but I'm not really sure. I'm actually working on reworking her story because it's kind of old and I felt like the writing style could be better, so that's what I'm doing. Also, if you are interested in learning more about her story, please let me know in the comments below. So right now I am adding the extra orange to Aimi's eyes. I usually add orange to her eyes, although they are yellow, because I just feel like the orange gives it a nice contrast. It just looks really nice with it, and I feel like it makes sense. Before though, I have accidentally added too much orange to her eyes, and they ended up not looking yellow anymore, so I was trying to be very careful to avoid that here. Also, I was using a paint pen for this part as well, the same brand, just in orange. Next up, I needed to add the darker part in the middle of her eyes, so later when I added the shines, they would really stand out. However, this is how it ended up looking. I felt like it looked more like a goat. It was like this square shape, and I really hated it. It was so hard to add the details because the paintbrush wouldn't go the way I wanted to, so I had to use rubbing alcohol to remove the paint and try all over again. After a little more work though, I finally had it done again, and this is what it looked like. I was really happy with it, and I feel like now I can move on to using the white paint pen and giving her the shines in her eyes to make them really look all alive. I can't lie and say I wasn't very nervous for this, but I was also excited because I knew that it was going to look so much better once I added the shines to her eyes. I couldn't wait for her to fully look alive. I also tried to take an extra step and cover up her eyebrows, but due to that attempt, by the end of the night, she looked like this. I tried to cover up her whole face with paint and it looked terrible and I had to remove it all with rubbing alcohol. I left everything in a mess that night, but that doesn't mean that I gave up. Not even close. And here she is, all fixed. Honestly, I think she looks a lot better than before. I like the lines I added for her mouth and her eyes. I also think her new hair looks really pretty. I don't know if I'll keep adding layers to it because I always can, but yeah, I think it looks really good. I also like the new color for her shoes. I do need to fix this because the blue paint kind of dripped into her leg, but it'll be okay. It won't be that hard to fix. So mainly the last thing I had to do is add her ribbon, and I want to add blush to her cheeks, and like I said, maybe I'll add some more to her hair and fix this. So the first attempt for blush to her cheeks, I drew with a Prismacolor on a cotton pad and tried to rub it onto her cheeks. I tried to put a good bit of force into it to try to get anything on, but I could barely see any color at all. This didn't seem to be working, it just wouldn't give the effect that I wanted. So next, my sister suggested that I try using one of my alcohol markers. I was a little worried because these alcohol markers literally always stain everything, especially the red, but I was hoping that maybe it could actually work in my favor this time. So here I go, and I'm trying it. At first, I wasn't seeing any color. It wasn't doing anything at all. Until, oh, no. Okay. That does not look good. It took me quite a while to clean it because I had to be careful to not get off all the other paint I had on the figure, but I think it turned out okay. I didn't take off too much that I didn't want to, except some on the edges of the hair because the pieces of the hair that were close to the face, it always ended up touching it accidentally when I tried to clean. So next up, I tried some acrylic paint with a paint pen, but I didn't like that look. So then I thought, what if I use my old gel pen and dip it in the paint to put it on her? I don't like this gel pen. It does not work if you saw my short a while ago. So I thought I could use it with the paint, and this might actually be thin enough and work. This was actually perfect because not only did it go on the figure beautifully, but also I was able to completely wash off the acrylic paint of the gel pen afterwards, so it was a win-win. Right here it actually looks a little thick, but later I learned how to put a little less paint on it so it would look thinner and much nicer. Now let's get started on her bow. I tried to be very exact with this because I haven't made a bow before, at least not since I was very little. So I used a ruler and I found a tutorial online. Also in this footage you can see a bug running across the fabric. That's not good. I hope it's just a regular bug and not something that shouldn't be in there. I'll have to check my fabric. But anyways, here I was cutting off the extra edges and I ended up cutting off more than I wanted because sadly I'm not very good at cutting fabric. But after I was done with that, I got out this fabric marker and I tried to color it all purple. I got through all the steps for making it, but sadly it ended up being too small, so I had to instead use an old bow that I had since I was little. I'm kind of sad, but at the same time, I guess it's okay. I still learned how to make a bow by myself. Now, I did a few more things off camera, and finally, the figure that started out as Hinata became my OC, Aimi. just want to say thank you guys so much for 700 subscribers. The process of getting here to finish this figure kind of reminds me of my YouTube journey. It's not always easy, you have to put in a lot of effort, but in the end, it's so much more than worth it.